Hey everybody, this is Perch. A couple of you asked, "Hey, did you go see Captain America?" So I did. I drove myself in to see Captain America 4, and this I'll more or less review it. But what's funny is I think this is a non-event movie, and what I mean by that is it's not must viewing. Like there's not a bunch of this. There's some by the way spoilers pretty much after this sentence. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, don't want to be spoiled. Stop now. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about some things. The challenge I think the Marvel Universe has overall is that once upon a time, you really needed to see them all because there were little bits, little scenes, little nods to other films, and it mattered. The universe was small enough that you felt like if you didn't see those things, you'd miss something coming up, and then the slow burn of like the big bad in Thanos was something people were kind of excited about, and so there was more or less. Even if the movie wasn't great, like The Dark World, Thor 2 wasn't great, but it still got attention because hey, we've got to see all these films. And the Marvel Universe has lost that because well, put it this way, they haven't lost them doing it. These films keep doing those same things. This film has, frankly, from my opinion, a clever callback to the Eternals. If you read the Times Run Out storyline that Hickman did in the Avengers leading up to Secret War, then the whole idea of the incursions and everything else is clearly happening. They mentioned that before in the Doctor Strange Mouth of Madness film. So this is the big bad. The Thanos bad is that these multiverses collapsing, which frankly good, so we can get rid of that story beat if people truly do. But anyway, the multiverse is collapsing, and so this is the thing that the movies are hinting. But you wouldn't know that unless you read the comics. The benefit they had with Thanos and all that kind of stuff is you could be a non-comic reader and still get the idea that like big evil Thanos is trying to do big evil thing. That came across. But now in this in the incursion stuff's too inside baseball. People aren't following along. But like I said, this movie it ties in certainly to the Captain America Winter Soldier series. It ties into the Eternals, and it ties heavily into that Hulk film with Edward Norton that Marvel more or less forgets about. So it's kind of nice that that thing is kind of being brought into the Marvel universe proper, and I'm on board with that. So it's doing the same kind of thing. It's doing these connections into other films, but people just don't. The universe has gotten too big, too messy, too many characters, too much is going on, and for a lot of kind of for lack of a better word, normie viewers, they felt like the big wrap up was Endgame. Like they invested a lot of time, they got their conclusion, and they're out. And so even though the movie is doing a lot of the same things that were successful for them 10 years ago, it's just not landing the same way. This movie has a post-credit sequence where they're talking about the incursions and the sinking threat of a universe coming to you, which more or less sets up a little bit of Avengers versus X-Men because very clearly we're going to get that collision of the X-Men world coming into the Avengers world. And that should be exciting in any kind of normal world if you had that's that kind of energy behind it. Anyway, um, but for the film itself, the film is fine. We've been taught for a year. We've been heard over and over and over for a year that this film is going to be a disaster. It had been reshot several times. Turns out not really. Parts of it have been reshot, but it's the rumors of hey, bits of the film had been reshot or parts of the film had been reshot had turned into the entire movie had been reshot like 5 or 6 times. And that clearly turned was never true, but fine. This movie in many ways, I was watching it, it reminded me a lot of the Captain America 2, the movie where they introduced the Winter Soldier, and it had, it felt like that in the sense that they were trying to do kind of a, government spy type film, a thriller type movie, a little bit more slow burn, a little bit more close to home. You don't have some kind of, big overarching. They're doing spy thriller basically with this. With the Serpent Society, with stuff they were doing with Sidewinder, with kind of the kind of reveal that President Ross was actually doing a bunch of dodgy things, and there was a mastermind behind him. If you think about it, it had a lot of the same beats as Captain America 2. The differences are, we've been through the ringer a few too many times, so it doesn't have the same impact. it also didn't have the big final scene. So if you remember in Captain America 2, we actually got onto the helicarrier there, and it was gonna blow up, murder millions of people, and Captain America had to fight while this thing was crashing down. All this kind of stuff was going on, and the Winter Soldier was this big threat. Well, in this one, the big climatic scene is, Harrison Ford Ross turns into the Red Hulk and, smashes, and then ultimately remembers his daughter and calms down. And so it just doesn't have the same kind of big finale impact that the second one did. But the beats in the middle are, more or less fine. It's there's some mind control going on. This is such a small thing, but the Mr. Blue song, which triggers mind control in this, or basically somebody getting hypnotized, whatever, doing bad things. Um, the same song was used in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and it just I can't get over that aspect of it. Anyway, stupid little thing. I did like the fact that they're gonna, introduce adamantium through the Celestial. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, Sam Wilson. The other part of it is Sam Wilson is more or less kind of not cheerful, happy-go-lucky, but in the other films, there's Marvel quips, and thankfully this movie has a lot less of those, but he's more light-hearted, and it's the same thing that happened in the comics. They put him in the Captain America costume, and now it's like he suddenly has to be serious. And part of Anthony Mackie's charm is that he's not overly serious. He can kind of, he's not Spider-Man level of humor, but there's a lightheartedness about him and his character. And a lot of that seems to be gone now that he's got to be serious Cap. And I think that goes back to, it feels like Marvel Studios wants the Captain America movies to be their James Bond, their Jason Bourne, their kind of spy thriller type films. It really took a lot of a nod from the Ed Brubaker era of the comics. And the challenge is Anthony Mackie doesn't exactly fit that. He actually fits a different type of movie where he can be a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more personality. And so they're fitting him into something that, Chris Evans arguably would have done better because of his personality and kind of how he interacts with things, but he's a completely different man, different character, and the script didn't necessarily change to give him that option. Um, fine. Um, this film is fine. Some of my friends saw it. They're like, "Hey, it was pretty good." I've heard a lot of people saying it was like a B plus type movie. It's not quite that good. It's probably, like a C plus, but it's not bad. It's not the disaster that a lot of YouTubers claim it want it to be. I guess I hate that I've gotten to this place mentally, but yeah, I'm on board with the fact that most of these people probably didn't watch the movie. I was talking about a friend with this over the weekend. It was the people who were like, "Well, what did Ross do?" And one of you put on a comment on a completely unrelated video and saying, "Well, Captain America 4, where the white guy gets to go to jail because he's not black," meaning, at the end of this movie, Ross is basically imprisoned, and there were some of the reviewers were like, "I can't understand why." It's like, well, kidnapping, destruction, lying, treason. I mean, like there's multiple things that he did. I grant you, the leader is a villain, obviously, but Ross captured him, kidnapped him, held him against his will, tortured him, subject him to more radiation. Like, yeah, all those things are pretty much going to put you in jail. So, no, I don't think he's in jail at the end of the movie because he's red or white. He's in jail because he, kidnapped somebody and experimented. I think pretty clear. Some interesting supporting cast. Again, everything was fine. What I get to this movie is it would belong really well on Disney Plus as a movie. I think it will actually do pretty good there when it's out of the theater and on that format. Um, the challenge is it doesn't have like I said, to me, the biggest problem is they're trying to make a spy thriller like Captain America 2. They're putting Anthony Mackie in it, and he doesn't fit that type of genre, at least not with this character. He's coming off way too serious. They've got way too many, you've got the new Falcon, and you've got Isaiah in this, and you've got A ton of other characters coming in and out of the film who are, some of them could be very interesting, but they don't have enough to do. And then I think the Serpent Society in general needed man, I would have had that group more defined. I would have not have them been just kind of generic terrorist type things. I would have actually had that group do more, be more. I don't know. The problem, the comic book movie of the MCU needs more fun comic book to it. The comic book aspects of this are so inside baseball that they're nods to comic book fans, but I don't think interesting enough for normie fans, for people who just want a good film. So in general, hey, you want to watch it? It's not a bad film. It's fine. Um, Marvel universe in general, just the big revelation to me, like I said at the beginning, is they are actually playing the same tune and trying the same tricks that got them so popular before, of lots of little nods to other movies, lots of little inside comments that you can go, "Ooh, this movie's connected to that movie," and it has people think, and post-credit scenes that set up more and all the rest. They're still doing all those same things. It's just they've gone too nerdy, too niche that people are missing them. And there's just too many threads to follow. It's the incursion threat is a pretty cool one, pretty good one, but they need to spell it out like way more clearly than they have, because I've talked to plenty of people who are not big comic readers. Nobody is getting that one. But anyway, there you go. The movie's fine. It's totally fine. I think if you're really hating on it, either you've been misled by some people, I think, who've told you to hate it and probably haven't watched it themselves, or you're just really pissed off that Sam Wilson is Captain America and you don't like that. But for what it's worth, by the way, several of you have posted in videos like it should have been Bucky. No, that's you've heard me say in other videos. I think Sam Wilson as Falcon is a good character. They should have kept him there. I think there's nothing wrong with that. He can be a major headliner character, and will allow him to be himself, to basically be the personality and the character that was popular, that people liked. I think he was freer there as a character. But putting Bucky in that costume is equally dumb. He's also his own character. I think the Winter Soldier is a cool character. He's a different thing. The Bucky run as Captain America in the comics sucked. I'm sorry, he wasn't good in that role either. And that was kind of his entire run in the comics, was proving out that that wasn't for him. It wasn't who he was, and he was better off, you know, being kind of a character, and frankly, you could build him up too, and you could have a Winter Soldier movie. You could have a Falcon movie. You can have all these things. Um, Arguably, Captain America is Steve Rogers' Captain America. Chris Evans defined the role. You can put in a completely new character and a new actor into that and say, pretend to be Steve Rogers. But frankly, that feels a little bit like what they're doing to Anthony Mackie. They're like, you need to be a little bit more serious. You need to be more the persona of Captain America. Well, that's Chris Evans' persona. Let Mackie be himself. If Chris Evans doesn't want to do more Captain America films, then you retire the character. I call it a day. So that's one of the things about live action. It happens. Or you recast and you get somebody who fits that personality. But trying to shoehorn other people in, whether it's the comics or whether it's the movies, I think it's a losing cause, in my opinion. Does that mean it always gets circumvented with but black men can be Captain America? Sure they can. But this particular black guy, Anthony Mackie, is a really good Falcon. So maybe just let that happen, and let Sebastian Stan be a good Winter Soldier. Let that happen. It can all work. Anyway, did you watch the film? What'd you think? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.